Today we're going to talk about the NAACP travel ban on Florida and why it matters. Hello everyone, this is Keith. Welcome to the Ghetto Sapien channel, your home of inner city intelligence. So Derek Johnson, the leader of the NAACP, has called for a travel ban warning for Black people going to the state of Florida. And is it political or is it an actual warning because Black people are endangered in the state of Florida? Well, let's check this out and you decide.
A strong warning from the NAACP. Travel to Florida at your own risk. The civil rights group is fighting back against Governor Ron DeSantis' anti-woke vision with a formal travel advisory. The NAACP claims the state has become hostile towards African Americans, people of color, and LGBTQ individuals. And as DeSantis is eyeing trading Tallahassee for the Beltway, his success in passing anti-woke legislation has already influenced at least 121 different far-right proposals in state legislatures throughout the country, targeting trans children, libraries, educators, and fundamental education. Meanwhile, what's left of Florida's education has become the battleground for basic human rights. More than 170 books about Black historical figures and LGBTQ themes are under review in schools. Students' access to an AP course on African American studies was rejected. And when it couldn't get any worse, last week, DeSantis poured more fuel on the fire after signing a bill into law banning diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in Florida's public colleges and universities. Joining me now for more is Derek Johnson, President and CEO of the NAACP. Derek, it's a pleasure to have you on my show. You and I had the privilege of speaking a couple of days ago, right when the NAACP issued its travel advisory. It's not every day, though. A civil rights group is going to issue a travel advisory. I went back and I looked. The NAACP has only done it 2 prior times in the history of the organization. So why a travel advisory versus maybe just a formal condemnation of the policies in Florida? And why is it so important to do it now?
I think what the governor and the Florida State Legislative Body have done is create a very hostile environment for many individuals. And considering that he's now seeking to become the president of the United States, what he has done in Florida could potentially happen in 49 other states. That is un-American, is undemocratic, and we need to heed the warning of how he thinks now before it's too late. We cannot stand another 4 years of anything similar to a Donald Trump presidency.
Right. So it's political. No surprise there. It's just utterly amazing that Derek Johnson would try and come to Joe Biden's rescue, because that's what this is all about. It has nothing to do really with helping Black people out, because there are Black business owners in Florida. There are 4 historically Black college and universities in Florida, and they'd be hurt if people really started avoiding the state of Florida, if anyone took this idiocy seriously. People who live in Florida, or at least Floridians who agree with Derek Johnson, would have probably preferred Andrew Gillum as governor over Ron DeSantis, even though Andrew Gillum he's under FBI investigation for some shenanigans that were going on in Jackson, Florida, when he was the mayor there. And also, last we heard from Gillum, he was found passed out in some drunken drug binge, naked with some other dude. So there's that. That would have been the governor of Florida if someone like Derek Johnson got his way. But let's quickly dispel some of the stuff that was brought up in that video. Let's talk about it real quick. So, one, African American history, the study of it is not in any danger in Florida. In fact, it's mandatory. The following is in the required instruction statute. This is from the Department of Education of Florida itself. So they have to teach African American history, and they should. The following, and it's even more specific, the following is in the required instruction statute. The history of African Americans, including the history of African peoples before the political conflicts that led to the development of slavery, the passage to America, the enslavement experience, abolition, and the history and contributions of Africans, of Americans, of the African diaspora to society. So basically, you got to teach Black history, and as ugly as it may have been, their triumphs, their failures, enslavement, all that stuff. You'd think, well, let me get to why the state of Florida is against that AP program they were talking about that they were offered. So concern found within the College Board submitted AP African American Studies course. Here's the big thing for the most part. Black queer studies. Why? Why must they consistently conflate everything with the LGBTQT community with the Black community? I don't think there's much overlap with that. If you listen to the first recording of that interview from MSNBC, they mentioned LGBTQT as many times or more times than they mentioned Black people. I don't understand the obsession with this, but there's a concerted effort to meld the two groups together. My guess is to kind of shield what the activists want to do by throwing Black people out there as a cannon fodder, so they, anything that the LGBTQT plus community does becomes above criticism, because then it becomes a racial issue. Utterly ridiculous. The thing is, Derek Johnson, who comes across as, this champion for Black people, he was kind of silent a couple of years earlier when Biden first got in office, when they had this Zoom call that no one thought was being recorded. And it was kind of embarrassing for Derek Johnson. It went on for over an hour, and Biden really showed his true colors, so to speak.
He wanted to get out. Derek, if you can do that quickly, we can go to the president and vice president-elect to close us out. Derek, you're muted.
You're muted, Derek.
I'm there. President-elect, you've mentioned more than once how the Black vote saved you in your races in the Senate in Delaware. You've talked about your friendship with Mouse. We are now saying the Black community have stood up in this election cycle. Let's not suffocate the Black vote in Georgia, and make sure we send the right message, because the success of this administration will be the ability of the Senate to confirm your nominees. We have an opportunity here, and we want to make sure we seize upon this opportunity and allowing for the input necessary. 10 more appointments to go. A lot of people in our community are getting a little anxious because they are not seeing enough of the progress they thought they would have seen at this point. Let's not disappoint them, and let's not get to a place where voters in Georgia begin to second guess.
Okay, so that was Derek Johnson, the current head of the NAACP, posting actually a reasonable question to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris about, are Black people going to get their bang for the buck for supporting him, even though Joe Biden did everything he could do to not get Black support. Everything from saying, questioning your Blackness if you didn't vote for him, to his racial jungle comments, to his comments even in this, this is just like a 3-minute clip, but if you listen to the whole thing, he really rips into Black people, and they stay silent the entire time. So this shows you behind the scenes how Biden really responds, and how the Black leadership, quote unquote, how they'll just sit there and suck it up because they really have no power.
Okay, let me respond. I've got to go. Let me respond. There's a lot to respond to here. Let's get something straight. You shouldn't be disappointed. What I've done so far is more than anybody else has done this far.
I mean, right there, he just speaks to them like they're children, and he's had it up the air with them, not appreciating all he's done for the Black community.
Okay, number one. Number two, I mean what I say when I say it. I mean what I say when I say it. I'm the only person who's ever run on 3 platforms that I was told could not possibly win the election, and I never ceased from it. One was on restoring the soul of this country because of what I saw happen in Charlottesville. That was it. No one else was talking about it. The words of presidents matter. Nobody else, no progressive, was talking about it. I did. My son Bo used to have an expression. He'd say, remember, Dad, home base. It ain't worth the job if I can't say what I believe. I didn't want to run this time. I ran this time because of the racist son of a gun who was president of the United States of America. That's why I ran.
Yep, that's why Iran had nothing to do with his deals with China, Russia, Romania that has come out recently. He ran for you Black people, and you Black people, you need to be appreciative that Biden's there to save you and protect you.
And you'll remember, a lot of you told me talking about the soul of America was going over people's heads. They didn't know what we're talking about. The words of a president matter. What a president says matters. And you've never seen me shy away. In the middle of the debate, I called him a racist. In the middle of the debate with him, I took on white supremacists. I'm the guy that took on every single time somebody was threatened in this country. The only white boy you know who did it, period, out there. Every single time.
Look at their faces. You know they're thinking, I can't believe he's saying this stuff, but they can't say anything. They're all bought and paid for, either by money or access to power. This is why this quote-unquote Black leadership is just a waste of time. They're just there for themselves. Again, they were just hoping this wasn't recorded, and actually this recording the whole 1 hour and 40 minutes. It's very hard to find on the internet because they don't want this to be found.
So look, all I'm saying here is, guys and ladies, we're on the same exact page, We talked about closing the racial wealth gap. That's the single biggest thing I want to get done. It's the ultimate equalizer, no matter what else happens. Because I plan on spending over $15 billion to provide for opportunity for young Black entrepreneurs to get them off the ground, Black farmers to be able to own their own property, young people being able to get their first $15,000 down payment on a home, making sure that they have an opportunity to gain wealth. We can do all the rest of this unless the Black community is able to make up the wealth gap, in my humble opinion, is real trouble. I support same-day registration. I'm the guy that extended the Voting Rights Act for 25 years as a United States Senator. Before, Sherilyn, you were even involved. I got it. I started off, I'm much older than you. That's why I got involved in politics. The assault on the Black vote and voting rights across the nation has never been more ugly than it is today. You got to go all the way back to the original Jim Crow to get where this guy is. If in case you haven't looked, we have the largest voting right. Kristen, my operation, 1,000 lawyers, bigger than you or anybody else out there on voting rights. 1,000 in this campaign. Not a joke. 1,000.
So in the face of that rant, where was Derek Johnson? Nowhere. He didn't smile. He didn't nod his head in agreement. He just sat there and took it like a child listening to his dad go off on some drunken tirade. He had nothing to say. So there's your Derek Johnson right there. He wants 4 more years of that. He wants 4 more years of Biden just doing whatever the hell he wants, because the only thing Derek Johnson is interested in is the D, and in this case, the Democrat Party. So that's it, folks. I got nothing else to say on this subject, but I'd like to see your comments. So please comment, share, like, and subscribe.